I'm in Shenandoah National Park, and this is Lands Run Gap. This is mile marker 9. Here's the parking lot right here. Here comes some motorcycles. There's my little red car. And I am going to cross over Skyline Drive and go down the other side of the mountain over there. That's the going down the east side into Hickerson Hollow. And I think I figured out where to look for the old Hickerson homestead, so I'm going to go down here and take a look and see if I can find it. The elevation here is 2,000 feet. Four-tenths of a mile into my hike, I'm still descending down into Hickerson Hollow. The elevation here is 1,700 feet, and I still a little 360. Real nice through here. The part that I just came through above me is pretty overgrown, but we're getting into some tall trees here now, and the trees are blocking out a lot of the weeds. Got some runoff right here. That's where I came from. Up there's Lands Run Gap. A lot of tall trees here. Those green and peach colored petals are part of a tulip poplar bloom. There's the rest of it sitting there. And inside Shenandoah Park, there's the tree right there, tulip poplar trees, and they get real big. Probably doesn't show up in the video, but the leaves look a lot like maple leaves, except the tips aren't as pointy, but they look a lot like maple leaves. But there's one right there, big old tulip poplar. There's another tulip poplar. I put my trekking poles, leaned them up against there for size reference. That's a monster tree right there. Nine-tenths of a mile into my hike, I'm down to 1,460 feet. And this looks like the, I'm going to call it a driveway. That was my GPS beeping telling me I was I was here. There's some stone fencing or stone walling up there on the left that I saw from Google Earth, wintertime photos. This is where I came from. And over here's the creek draining everything down. And then if you keep going this way, you'll eventually walk out of the park. So this is another one of these. I should really do this in the wintertime kind of thing. See how overgrown it is? I'm just going to push my way back up in here a little ways. But if it's too terribly overgrown, I'll just have to mark this and come back in the wintertime. Before I push my way back up in there, I'll just point this out. This is coming down from the top. This will be easy to find in the winter because when you get down to this elevation, which is about 1,460 feet, coming down off to the right, all of a sudden you'll see like a sweeping turn going in there. And then if you come up from the bottom, which is that way, same thing. You know, you got a narrow road here and all of a sudden it widens way out here, going up into that driveway. So this is definitely the spot. So I've been following that fencing, and when you get up to here to where this big tree is, it does a little zigzag thing and it just stops right here. And then there's what looks like a driveway, and the right hand side over here is lined with stone, heading back in this direction. I'm going to follow it back in just a little bit further. I think to really see what's going on in here, you need to come back in the wintertime, but this will be a good GPS track for me. Okay, well I followed this road back up in here, kind of goes up onto the top of a rise, and then right about here is where it sort of fizzles out at the top. But you can see there where they did some pretty serious armoring up, and that's where I came from. Down that way you can see all the rocks piled up. So I mean, this was obviously a road up here. This was an apple orchard up in here. So anyway, I don't think I'm going to go much further. And maybe in the wintertime I can come back and press further on that way. I'm going to go back to where I noticed this entrance, and then I'm going to go up to a set of coordinates where an old survey showed that the house was, and just see if I can see anything. But this is definitely an old road up in through here. Okay, well now I'm within about 75 feet of where an old hand-drawn map showed the homestead location was, and here I am looking at some more rock wall heading up that way, coming down through here. So I think what I'm following here is probably part of the driveway. I'll see if I can get a little further up. That's the way I came from, down that way. That's the way I'll have to go back. But definitely, so I don't know if this is the edge of the property. Right now where I'm standing, it looks like I'm standing in maybe a driveway, and that might be the edge of it. So wander around a little bit more, but maybe you can see that this is pretty overgrown in through here. Now that spot over there is open. I'm not sure why that is. Big trees blew down or something. That's heading back out. And then that's heading up the mountain towards Lands Run Gap. So maybe I can figure a little more out when I get home and look at my actual GPS track. Okay, well I'm back out onto the Hickerson Hollow Trail now. That's where I came from. The homestead's definitely up in there, and it looks like a network of roads in through there. Some of them have, some of them look like driveways with a stone wall next to it. And then there's other ones that I explored a short distance that are a road that's on a slope, and it's stone reinforced on the lower side. I tried to get a couple of pictures of that. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just walk on down to the park boundary, and then we'll turn around and head back. Maybe you can see that this is an old road also. I crossed over the creek because one of the old surveys showed an old road on this side. This land belongs to a different Hickerson. I'll explain it in my map talk. But I'm going to follow this up far enough to establish a GPS track. I'll come back and explore this later. It looked to me like maybe if you followed this far enough, you'd walk right out of the park after another couple miles. So anyway, this is that. The creek's down here. And then the other homestead I was just looking at is just up the trail, uphill just a little ways. So I'm gonna go up here a little ways and then turn around, probably walk down to the park boundary, and then head back up towards my car. Alrighty, well, I was climbing up this second road, and over here on the west side, and here's another big stone wall. So I got some GPS coordinates for it. So you come up here ways and there's nothing, and then all of a sudden there's this big stone wall. So there was probably something behind here. Might be worth coming back sometime in winter and checking this out too. .3 miles into my hike, I'm down to 1,380 feet, and this is the park boundary right here. Those big rocks across the trail, and the concrete signpost there, and the beginning of the yellow blaze. That means it's a horse trail. So I'm going to turn around here and head back up to Land's Run Gap where my car is. If you want to hike from the bottom down here, there is a road that comes up here, and like today, which is a Sunday, Mother's Day, there's nobody up here, but you can come up and pull off to the side here. Let me just show you. And you can park, some cars can park there, and there's some cars spaces right there. And you could probably get a few more just along the side of the road there. So you can come up to here, it's a dead end, and park. And but just remember, it's private property until you get up here and get past that concrete signpost up there. I'm done with my hike. The gap and the parking area is over there. But I saw this this like block house. I'll have to see if I can find out what this is. Looks like it might have been a pump house. All right, at this point it's got the door ripped off. So, and then just below that is the remains of another old road that heads back over to the gap, back over there. So I'll get a few more stills. This is a map of today's hike. The quadrangle name is Chester Gap, 1994. And the purpose of the hike was to bushwhack down into Hickerson Hollow and locate this homestead tract number 105, which was owned by Ella V. Hickerson. I parked right here on the west side of Skyline Drive here at Lands Run Gap, and you cross over Skyline Drive and you'll see a concrete signpost that says Hickerson Hollow Trail. I headed straight on down to here, and when you get down to here you'll notice that the road is fairly narrow, but all of a sudden it widens out going to the right, and if you study this to the right you'll see that there's a driveway heading back up in here. So I went back up in here. It's pretty overgrown, so I'll have to go back sometime in the winter and get and look around where I can see better. I found some stone walls and a network of roads and driveways back in here. So that's the approximate location of that. Then I came out and went across the creek looking for another old road over here on this side, because this side was owned by the Hickerson family and so was this side over here. These were apple orchards. I'll tell you a little more about that in a minute. But I came across here, I found this old road, hiked it up far enough to get a GPS track. I found another fairly large stone wall up here. Then I came back, crossed back over the creek, hiked down to the park boundary, which is here, and then back up to my car. Now on the way back up, right about there, I noticed this old pump house, so I went over and got some pictures of that too. Now let me show you a couple of these older maps. Well, first of all, if you go to the Shenandoah National Park land records, this is where I found the homestead right there. It says Ella V. Hickerson, Warren County, and it was tract number 105. And then this one over here was cut off, but is owned by different Hickersons, and it's tract number 104. Now, what I did was, if you look at the online stuff for Tract 105. This was a hand-drawn map of this tract of land, Tract 105, and you'll notice these squares here. That's where the homestead was. So what I did was I took this map, which is more or less drawn to scale. I took that and overlaid it on top of this, and then that gave me this location right here. And then this map, if you put your cursor here, it'll tell you what the latitude and longitude is. Okay, now just a little more information about these locations. There was a lot going on here. Here's the assessment for the Ella Hickerson. It's 160 acres. A 7-room house, a smokehouse, a wood house, a hen house, a garage, a packing house, that's for packing the apples, a spring house, feed house, cow barn, horse barn, blacksmith shop, and a hog house. So that's quite a bit of stuff. And then on the other side of the creek, that land belonged to a B, W, and J.E. Hickerson, 56 acres. A 5-room, 2-story house, etc., etc. And when you look down through here, you'll see that there was 20 acres of orchards on this side with more than 700 apple trees. So they had quite a operation going on there in Hickerson Hollow. Ended up being 2.8 miles with a total ascent of 827 feet. And that was the hike for today.